Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SLG Book Club review. Today, we're going to be covering Grit, The Power of Passion and Perseverance by Angela Duckworth. I think it's a fantastic book. It talks about how can we achieve success in life, personal life, and professional life. It really looks past the traditional markers for success like IQ and academic scores and social skills and your leadership experience or your potential. Basically, what it's saying is those things don't really correlate that well with success. What really correlates well with success is grit. And we'll get into what grit essentially means. I resonated deeply with this book because a lot of the concepts, when you get into them, they're fairly intuitive. It's not rocket science. I mean, there is science, but it's not too complicated. I think it's a very important read for anybody, whether you're working in a company or you're a parent or a coach. It really helps us think through uh, how people can achieve things in the long run, right? There's no quick hacks in this book. There's no, a three-step process to ultimate riches and whatnot. It's a practical book. It's a book that speaks to the people who've been through a few things in life. They understand how life works. So I resonated with this book, and I wanted to just spend some time going through it. I'm not going to cover everything in the book, obviously. I'm just going to focus on the areas that really spoke to me and the application of some of the tools this book has covered on my life and how I found them to be useful. So hopefully they're useful to you as well. So with that, let's just dive right into it. Let's get into what is grit. Now, if you ask somebody what grit is, they typically look at it as something is like, oh, I'm tough, so I'm gritty. And that's a fair way of looking at it. But the book divides it into two components. The first one is passion. So the question is, what is passion? Is it just a lot of enthusiasm? Is it just like an emotional reaction? Or, what is it? So we will get into that too. And the other one is perseverance. And I think perseverance is traditionally viewed as something which, we stay the course despite difficulties. So we just hang in there and we stay on course, on target, despite whatever comes our way. And we do both of these things, keeping the long term perspective. So, like I said, the reason why I like this book is there's no shortcuts. And it's probably going to put off a few people who are looking for shortcuts. Uh, I think the book basically pleads the case for playing the long term game, in my view at least. Now, the good news here is this that, you know, the book covers talent and the book covers effort. And it says, talent is great. There's nothing wrong with being talented. Not everybody is talented, or, I mean, we have different degrees of talent. But what really matters is not necessarily talent. What really matters is effort. Okay? So let's get into this. So, as Duckworth says, our potential is one thing. I think we all have a certain level of potential. But what we do with that potential is a completely different ballgame, right? So if you were to say potential or talent is what is talent? Talent is how quickly your skills improve when you invest effort. Let me repeat that. Talent is how quickly your skills improve when you invest effort. Okay? But then achievement is what happens when you take your acquired skills and use them. This is from the book. So, so talent times effort is skill, and then skill times effort is achievement. So you apply effort to talent, it turns into skill, and then you apply effort to skill, it turns into achievement. And so it says, yeah, talent counts, absolutely. Talent can, get you to the same place faster than somebody with less talent, for sure. But in the end, effort is the main driver. So that's really the good news. That don't just count on talent being your savior. And for I think a lot of people, talent is a major excuse, right? Excuse because they say, well, the only reason I didn't succeed at this and XYZ did it, well, because he or she is more talented than I am. So it's our ticket to just say, look, it wasn't really because of lack of effort, it's just because of talent. What can I do, right? Nature didn't give me enough talent to do this. Otherwise, I would have absolutely knocked it out of the park. So I think this book also makes us accountable that no. Yeah, talent does make a difference, but effort makes a lot more difference. So you're not off the hook. You're still accountable. Um, and the other thing, this something I was just looking at a quote from this book. It says, "Without effort, talent is nothing more than unmet potential." Right? Without effort, your skill is nothing more than what you could have done but didn't. So there's a lot of this, could have, should have, right? And the real issue is not talent. The real issue is, well, you didn't put enough effort. And yeah, so to be productive, um, just remember that the good news is it's in your control. The effort that you put in is in your control. Obviously, you don't control the environment. You don't control a lot of other factors that can happen to you, but the effort part you absolutely control. And that's why to be gritty, you've got to be putting in the effort. It's on you. Okay, now let's go to something very interesting, the grit scale. So I wanted to know how gritty I am. So establish a baseline. I got this book in, I think it was in August 2018. And so I looked at this grit scale. It's a set of 10 questions. And as you can see that, it covers, so you've got these columns which says not at all like me all the way to very much like me. You've got all these questions in the leftmost column. And you've got a different scale, right? So you've got a different scale for each question. There's an alternating scale. So the first question is, new ideas and projects sometimes distract me from previous ones. Put a rating on it from 5 to 1. But the next question is, setbacks don't discourage me. I don't give up easily. So it's interesting because the first question is really talking about something that's negative, that new ideas and projects sometimes distract me. That's a negative. But the second question is, setbacks don't discourage me. I don't give up easily. That's a positive. So basically what you're saying is these questions are alternating back and forth. The third question is, I often set a goal but later choose to pursue a different one. Okay, that's a negative. And then the fourth one is, I'm a hard worker. That's a positive. Again, it's flipping between the two questions, and you can see the scale is also flipping, right? So the first question, the scale goes from 5 to 1, and the second one goes from 1 to 5. So, but it's a fairly straightforward scale. And I looked at all of this, and I just filled it out. That's I did it 3 years ago, and then I decided to do it again this month. So 3 years later, I did it. Here's basically when I filled out the grid scale today. This is what it came out to be. Okay, so I've got so it's kind of spread all over the place, right? So I said, well, I don't know what that means. I essentially ended up getting a grid score of 4.2, which is you add them all these numbers. There's 42 divided by 10. Okay, so you get a score of 4.2. That's my grid score today in October 2021. But here's the interesting part. Grit has its components. There's a reason why Duckworth has made this scale or this survey or this questionnaire in such a format, because what it's doing is trying to gauge us on passion and perseverance. It's trying to figure that out. So the first question is really about passion. The second question is about perseverance. Then the third one is about passion and then perseverance. And it's flipping between the two. So I found that quite interesting. I didn't think of it while I was filling the scale, but that's the way it's been designed. So it keeps flipping from, so every, let's say, odd number is about passion, and every even number question is about perseverance. Okay, that's the way they've divided these components. So if I were to say, well, let me just look at my passion score. These are all the odd numbers, odd questions put together. Well, so my passion score, I've got of 3 4s here and 2 3s. You add them all up, you get 18, and then you divide it by 5. I got a passion score of 3.6. Okay, all right. Did the same thing. Look at all the even questions. I looked at them, and I get a grit score. Sorry, a perseverance score of 4.8. It's basically 24 divided by 5. So I was like, okay, the perseverance score is higher than the passion score. So when I compare myself over the last 3 years, I believe that my grittiness level, if you will, has grown. So grit can grow. This is one of the key takeaways from this book. Grit can grow. If I look at my score in 2018, I had it in the book somewhere. My overall grit score was 3.5. In 2021, it's 4.2. So it's gone up by zero point 0.7. But when I look at my perseverance score, it's the exact same. It was 4.8 then, it's 4.8 today. The difference was passion score, because my passion score went from 2.2, which was pretty low at that time, to 3.6 today. And there's still significant room for improvement. But the difference maker here was passion. I developed my passion. I grew my passion. And the perseverance, I held it at a high level, essentially. So what's your growth strategy if you want to grow your grit? Well, let me just tell you, before I go into that, let me just tell you two things. Studies have found that, the higher the grit score is, the more the more satisfied your life is, the more your life satisfaction tends to be, the grittier you are, right? So that's what you see in the left chart. And the right chart, something very interesting. With age, it's noticed that grit goes up. With age, we're able to a little bit cultivate our passions more, be more, persevere a little bit more. It just it's something that comes with maturity, right? So then the question is, well, that's good news, which means the higher the grit, the more life satisfaction you have, and the more you age, the more grit you have, which means the more life satisfaction you have as well. Um, so then the question is, well, I want to grow my grit. How do I do that? So the book covers two ways to go about uh, developing or cultivating your grit. The first is the inside out approach. The second was the outside in approach. And these are all these different ways where you can really systematically, methodically, step by step, over time, improve your grit score. Let's focus on the inside out first. I think it's absolutely critical because it is something that I've worked on for quite some time, and it doesn't come easy, but it's divided into four psychological assets, if you will, right? Like how do you develop this kind of a frame of mind? So the first thing is interest. Let's start with that. Passion is essentially seeded by interest. So interest is the seed for your passion. Passion can be fostered, but only by actively going through these stages of discovering your interest, developing those interests further, and then deepening them even more. Then you kind of do these experimentations and guesswork on, like, what do you really like, what do you don't like, did it work for you, did it not work for you. Only then your passion is sort of developed or revealed to you in that sense. But there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of guesswork and a lot of experimentation, because you could be interested in 20 different things, but you can't give your energy to 20 different things. You've got to really concentrate your energies and your focus to really make something out of that interest. So the first thing is interest. And how do you develop it into passion? Well, like I said, do a discovery, understand what really engages you. Then develop it a little bit, play with it, kind of see, um, how can you be of use to you in practical life? How can you serve others with it as well? And if the feedback is positive, then you really sort of deepen those interests further. Whether you do projects or do pro bono work for others, whatever it is that is of interest to you, find a way to take it to market, to take it to people, and be of service somehow. So this way you'll know, do you really want to do this on a daily basis, or you not want to do this? So you no longer have to then think, could have, should have. You said, no, I had this interest, I tried it out, it worked or it didn't work. Either way, you'll know the answer. The second thing is, which I find very interesting, is practice. But whatever your interest is, whatever the skill that you want to develop, the book talks about practice really doesn't mean much till you don't look at it from a deliberate practice standpoint. Um, and by that, what it means is you've got to set, number one, clearly defined stretch goals. So let's take a moment here. Your goal has to be clear, but it has to be a stretch goal, which means it's not like something that you can easily do. It's something that pushes you. It challenges you. So your goal has to be clearly defined, but it has to be a stretch goal. And once you have a clearly defined stretch goal, automatically your brain tends to, focus on it. So if I say, look, I need you to write an article over the next 1 month, and you're like, all right, okay, no problem, and then you're just kind of like all over the place. And if I say, I need you to finish this article within the next 45 minutes, it's a clearly defined goal, and it's a stretch goal because it's going to challenge you. So all of a sudden, your brain is going to laser in, right? So clearly defined stretch goal, give it your full concentration and effort, and then also actively seek feedback around your weaknesses. Where you're not that strong, constantly ask people and make a habit of it. That's the way you practice. And once you do this, this form of deliberate practice is going to enhance your skills. And I know most people, including myself, once you see you're getting good at something, you want to do more of it. It's this confidence, it's this more sort, it becomes more fun that way. And it keeps pushing you. So remember, talent times effort equals skill. This is where you're building the skill through your effort. And then take that same skill and apply, more effort to it, and you end up getting achievement. So practice, deliberate practice works in that way. The third one is purpose. Purpose is really about, you have a mindset of contributing to the well-being of others, serving the community, serving somebody or a cause that is greater than you. And so I think that is something that really, in my opinion, I think it really motivates us, and it's a magnet that pulls us forward in life, because you feel like, it's not just all about me. I'm being of relevance to the community and people around me. And I think it makes a huge difference when you believe that there's a problem to be solved, and I believe I can make a difference. And here I go. I'm going to go ahead and make a difference. It really makes you, your self worth in a way increase, and you feel that there's a purpose to your existence. It's not just about making money and paying bills. And then the fourth one is hope. And it's a belief that through your efforts, not some third-party savior, through your efforts, you'll be able to have a better tomorrow than today, right? So through your efforts, things are going to improve. That's the mindset. And realize that, whatever you go through in life, failure, it's all temporary. Everything is temporary. And that you are capable of overcoming adversity. Okay? Like they said in the book that, it's a famous Japanese saying, fall 7, rise 8. Well, that basically means that you can overcome, no matter how many times you fall, you can still overcome. All it matters is, do you get up one more time, then you fall. That's all that matters. So if you have all of these four assets, interest that you can develop into passion, deliberate practice, a sense of purpose, and genuine hope that through your efforts you can overcome adversity, I mean, my God, then you can become a powerhouse, right? I mean, you become unstoppable. And so I think that's sort of the inside out, using your psychology to put yourself in motion in achieving whatever you set your mind to. Now, moving on, the outside in component, right? So we looked at the four filters of inside in. Let's look at the four on the outside in. This is where parents, teachers, coaches, community, all of this comes into play, because, yeah, parents have can have a different parenting style. Some are permissive, some are authoritarian, but excuse me. But the idea behind this is that, parents need to develop this sense in their children that you have to earn everything through effort. You have to value effort. You have to, in the book, they talk about, that the parents should follow this hard thing rule for children. which means that they need to do something daily basis that requires a deliberate practice, and it could be, an extracurricular activity that reminds them that, you know, I mean, you can definitely quit, but you've got to finish what you've started. If it's too difficult, you can quit for a moment, but you still have to finish what you've started. Allow them to pick something really outside of their comfort zone. So it's a hard thing. It's not too easy. And then say, okay, well, just stay with it. If you want to learn the piano, stay with it. So, you may not be able to do it in one go, but you say, okay, maybe I'll come back tomorrow and I'll try it again. Give them something to practice deliberately on, and make them realize that it's this constant programming around effort that's going to take them closer to achievement. And it's the same rule applies for coaches and teachers, right? It's the same thing that give them something of interest, something that is hard, and tell them to follow through, even though it's tough, right? And let them kind of deepen their skill set and see if higher skill helps them achieve it faster. Let them figure it out. Put a value on effort. Put an environment that honors discipline and learning and growth. This is again an outside-in phenomena. You've got to be as stakeholders in the community, in the society, whether it's your parents, teacher, or coaches, you've got to make sure that you provide this constant feedback that it's all about effort. It's all about effort. It's all about effort. Hammer that home. And lastly, when you talk about community, it's about building a culture, right? It's building a culture that, this is how we do things here, and this is why, right? We are people who respect effort and practice and sacrifice, and this is why, because it helps us. There's no favors here or there. It's all about what you bring to the table, and we respect and value people who put in the hours and the efforts, and the gritty people. So whatever your community is, if you're around people who are making excuses and escape accountability, well, then you're putting yourself around the wrong crowd, and obviously you're not allowing the outside influences help you become grittier. So you could be working from inside out, but then outside in, you're getting a completely different environment. It's not going to necessarily help you really establish yourself as a gritty individual. So these are the two ways to develop grit. In the end, I would say a few things on the book, but yeah. So I think summary-wise, I would say, number one, grit can be developed. Number two, play the long-term game, and number three, make grit a part of your identity. How can it be developed? Just remember, passion is more about endurance than enthusiasm. This is from the book. How do you boost passion? By enhancing your skills, by developing or deepening your interests. And how do you boost perseverance? It's by developing a growth mindset. It's this famous book, Mindset by Carol Dweck, which talks about, either you have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. Growth mindset basically looks at adversity as fuel. Whatever comes your way, you consume it and go further. There's nothing that stops you, nothing that holds you back. Whatever comes your way, you grow because of that. So have that perseverance slash growth mindset. When you're talking about the long-term game, invest in your grit, track your progress with the grit. So going back to my score, if I were to just quickly take you guys back to that, I don't know if I can do this here. Apparently I can't. So if I were to take you back to the last 3 years, as you notice that my passion score went up. I was tracking my grit. How was I investing in my grit? Because I felt like I was spreading my interest too far out, so I had to narrow them down. I was deliberately filtering out a lot of things to conserve my energy and converge my energy onto select things. And that helped me go deeper in terms of skill set in those areas. And it really helped me say, okay, there's an opportunity cost to the things I'm not doing, but the things that I'm doing, I'm finding more fulfillment in them. So it's a very conscious effort. And then the third thing is, all of this doesn't mean much if in the real world, grit is not helping you with life satisfaction or progress in all aspects of your life. And for me, it made a very clear difference in the way I felt like I was getting some social rewards as well as some professional rewards. I was getting sort of more projects. I was being able to develop a very healthy community of like-minded individuals. So from every which way, that intentional development of grit did translate into overall improvement in life score, if you will, right? So yeah, my progress did improve with my grit. Simple as that. And I've always looked at it as a long-term game, you know. So it's not something I do for a few months. Like I said, I've done it over 3 years, and I'm sharing the results with you. And then the last one again is just, you know, you've got to be somebody who brings grittiness into your identity. This is part of who you are. Do not glorify talent. Don't, if your child is talented, don't say, oh, you did amazing job because you're talented. Tell them that you did an amazing job because you put in so many hours. And yes, talent may have helped them a little bit more than somebody with less talent. But end of the day, it's the blood, sweat, and tears that gets you to the, you know, to the finish line. Yeah, and identify and value effort both for yourself and for your children. And the last thing is, you know, grit is a very simple concept. You know, you got to, you know, you stay the course, but it's all about accountability. And you can't fool anybody with it, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm trying to tell the world that I'm really gritty. Look at my grit score. That's not what it's about. It's about making sure that are you genuinely, authentically committed to a cause, a purpose. Because time can fly by, decades can go by, and you can feel lost, and you say, well, you know, I tried this, but then I tried that, and then I did something else, and I lost interest there. And on this thing, things got too hard, you know, things are out of my control. We can have all the excuses in the world, and like I've said many times before, all excuses are valid. And that's the worst part, because you can justify it, but nobody can bring back the time that you're losing or you've lost, right? So instead of wasting energies trying to just feel good, you know, trying to, you know, validate or justify why you were not successful, focus on success in whatever way you define it, whether it's relationships, whether it's impact on the world, whether it's money, whatever it is, whatever success is to you, it's going to cost you. And the cost is not a very dear cost. It's just a cost of commitment and dedication. So yeah, I highly recommend this book to everyone. I would give it to my dear loved ones as well. I keep telling my son about this, some of the key takeaways from this book. And I'll wrap it up by saying, you know, a quote from the book. It says, "To be gritty is to keep putting one foot in front of the other. It is to hold fast to an interesting and purposeful goal. To be gritty is to invest day after week after year in challenging practice. To be gritty is to fall down 7, get up 8." So with that, we're going to wrap up this review. Hopefully this was productive for you. Let me know what your thoughts are. Take a shot at taking the grit scale and let me know what your grit score is. And yeah, if you have any questions, more than happy to help you guys out. Thank you very much.